Aloha cupcakes! It is time for me to start doing reviews of paint, and some of these paints that I'm going to be working with aren't quite what you expect. The first one that I have here, this is... Oh yeah, I didn't even notice that. This is Custom Creative. It is a urethane. This is coming from Revolt Auto Paints. That's where I got it from. I will attach a link in the comments on this one. So far I have a few colors to work with and not a lot. So I don't have the full suite on these ones. I've only got a couple of them, and we're going to see how they go. Now, before I start working with this one, I want you to understand that I've already sprayed the base coats. I've already sprayed a layer of clear coat. So there was hardened clear coat before I actually started, and that was honestly because I didn't realize that I was all out of mid coat. So I had to do something, right? Because I wasn't just going to paint on raw base coats, although I can with urethane for the most part. I just wanted to test this without. So we're actually starting on top of clear coat, and yes, it is urethane. So any of you pinstripers out there who have a million questions regarding what hardeners to put in your enamel so that you can spray it and then put the clear coat on, I'm not going to tell you what to do with your life. I'm just going to tell you, I've never had a urethane do the things that enamel does under clear coat. And you don't have the waiting time that you have with enamels. But we're going to test this out. Let's see how this goes. Yeah, that was it. So currently I've got 3 colors to work with. There's a red, well, actually I have 4 colors. There's a white and an off-white. And then there's the cobalt blue. But I don't really think we need to do both whites for this. So we're just going to grab one and go for it. Now, being that this is urethane, it's got a fun smell to it no matter what you do. Some of the hardeners and catalysts and such will cause a even worse smell. But if that's the catalyst that's going to your clear coat, then that's the catalyst you're working with. Sorry. I was pretty fortunate that I'm working with Tamco base coats and Tamco's clear coat, so I just decided to use Tamco's catalyst. So it was the lesser of the stinkies. So big fan of that concept. Now, when you come to the way that it's mixed and the way that it's the way that Custom Creative's website reads, you should not need to clear coat once you have hardened your paint. So we're going to give that a shot here. So what I did was I added a couple drops. They said 1 part to 8. I probably went a little heavier than that just because we were talking about like a tablespoon. So it's like 2 drops is probably like 1 drop too much. And then I also added reducer to it just because that's a habit thing when you're up here in Northern Nevada. Because I believe I'm sitting at 12% humidity while I was filming this. And that's just super awesome when it comes to paint because it dries on your brush at times. And it's mildly frustrating. But just the same, add a little bit of both and went for it. Now, the red stripes that I'm working with, I did not add reducer once after it was mixed. And looking at the video clips now, because I did time-lapse this because I took some time. This was 24 minutes. So in 24 minutes, I wasn't getting it to gum up on the brush, and I wasn't getting it to where I was getting inconsistent lines. So I probably had another couple of minutes of working time with this paint before it would start getting gummy. I honestly didn't get to a point where I got to where it was gummy to reduce again. So that was kind of awesome. It stayed fluid, and it flowed really well throughout the whole time. The catalyst in it completely made it so that I didn't see any fisheyes. I did not see any deficiencies in the stripes other than dragging my fingers through it at one point. And I might have dropped my brush and had to wipe that line off once. But that's my fault. Some of the other things that I've noticed with this, and it took me a few seconds to realize that that's what was going on. Once I started working with the white paint, because I did not take a break at all. I was having some battery issues with the cameras, and All I will say about that is that NPF batteries really should have some sort of an indicator when they're dying. It would be nice. Just a little color change to let you know that, hey, it's about to die before you're talking to a camera that's no longer on. Just saying. So while I was working, though, I knew that I only had one battery left without having to charge it. So I decided to just go for it and not to take any breaks so that I could get this done in a single recording session. I don't know the word for it is. I was just trying to get it done before that battery died. That's really what it came down to. So there were no breaks. And as soon as I started to cross lines, so like right about here, I realized that the paint that I was working with, or the paint that I had been working with, was dry. Like, I'm not doing wet lines over wet lines. I'm doing wet lines over dry lines, which, if you were, say, doing this live at a show of something, like doing a panel jam or something like that, that could be the biggest difference of everything. Like, if you were able to go and put stripes down and within like 2 or 3 minutes be able to go lay another layer of stripes down in the middle of a panel jam, you just might get a lot less fingerprints in those things. Well, when I do it, I would get less fingerprints, and I think other people manage to do a better job than I do. But I have a tendency to get my pinky right in the middle of them suckers almost every time I do it. So if paint was to dry faster, I might not do that. And I know, now that I say that, I'm probably literally the only person who has that problem. And fine. Okay, I will admit it. I'm the guy that has that problem. That's why I don't like doing panel jams. I get my pinky in this stupid thing. But if we're using this stuff, maybe I might actually do one once in a while and stop running away every time they're like, hey, who wants to join the panel jam? Not calling anybody out, and I'm not dropping dimes on anybody with this. I'm just saying there's a solution to get me to participate. That's all. I still also don't want to do one because that is weird having 40 people all bunched around you. I wouldn't mind it so much if people didn't drink so much coffee and I'd smell their breath. Like that. It's not my favorite. Just the same, I started to realize I had more working time and I started to play around a little bit more with this. Also realized that I had more room on the skate deck and I hadn't gone all the way down to the tail when I started at the other. Is it a head on a skate deck? I think it is. Well, I mean, both sides are exactly the same. But anyway, I started really close to the edge on one side and wasn't even close to it on the other. So I made the decision right about here that I needed to extend this design a bit further. See, executive decisions. Sometimes I actually think about what I'm doing, especially if, I have to document it and or talk about it later. I pay closer attention. So what I did, and probably not the best decision. I mean, yes, I've been working with this idea of not using any guidelines whatsoever. And yeah, sometimes that's awesome. Sometimes it's not so much because, guidelines wipe off. So you don't actually know that I didn't use guidelines unless I write the words. But just threw some more stuff out there. And I started to notice, because I'm coming up right at about 25 minutes with this paint. So I'm starting to notice that the lines are a little bit thicker, and I did have to squeegee off the brush a couple of times because it was getting a little gunky on it. So at least with this color, I kind of came to the limit in terms of the workable time with it, but I was still getting consistent lines even though I was having to change things, and I still did not add any reducer to it. So that was kind of cool. Now I did, once I stopped using this blue, whenever it is that I stopped using this blue and I switched over to the white color again, I did add more paint to the cup just because it had dried completely. Like, it was dry. So, but I think for the white paint at that point, we're probably closer to 40 minutes since I had originally mixed that. But once I'd squeegeed this thing off, I was getting those good old sharp lines again. So even when it's starting to gum up, it still flows fairly well and it covers pretty well, at least for pinstriping. I probably need to do another session with this stuff for things like letterings and graphics. But that's going to have to wait until I have some of the other videos are done, because I am trying to answer the requests of everybody who wants to know things from these. So I'm working on it. I'll get to it. But yeah, this has been some fun paint. I really like the way that it flows with this. And then somewhere, I think this is probably about the point of the video. Yeah, here. I start using white, and I've added some more, and I added some more hardener, and I mixed it again. But by the time I had done that, those blue lines are done. And they're glossy. Like everything in this is glossy. So I'm a big fan of that notion. And I'm getting really consistent corners. Sorry. I'm not editing that. I would just want you to know that I have recorded this voiceover like 3 times now, because there's a dog that keeps yelling at me. We're not editing that. We're just going to leave it. Okay? So I will leave a link in the description for this one so you can find this stuff for yourself. It is kind of fun. I do thoroughly enjoy working with it. I'm going to let it get old, and we'll see how well it survives. But there you have it. This has been the custom Creative Urethane. Stay moist, my friends.